Yeah, David and Fred are.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to your May meeting of your Louisville Town Council. So good to see you all, whether you're here with us in person or you're watching at home on TV6 or watching on Facebook. Are we on Facebook tonight? Did we make it? We did make it. Very good. So glad to have, however you're joining us this evening, we're glad to have you with us. We'll begin our meeting this evening with a roll call of our members present.
Good evening. I'm Jane Welch. Glad to see y'all here and welcome.
Good evening. I'm Jean Marie Foster. Thanks for coming.
I'm Mike Horn.
Hi, Ken Sadler.
Melissa Hunt, and happy Thursday.
Very good. She does it so we remember which day it is, which is helpful to some of us who may be just a little bit older. Okay. Folks will now have our invocation, and that'll be led by our attorney, Bo Houff, and then we have a special group to join us for our Pledge of Allegiance. If Dr. Sadler would mind passing on his opportunity to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Very good. Stand if you're able, please.
God our Father, we give you thanks for this day. We thank you for the many blessings of life that you give to us. We thank you for those who volunteer in service to this town in so many ways. We thank you for the council. We thank you for this staff. We give you special thanks this evening for the long and dedicated service of our town manager, Hank Perkins. Now we ask you to be with us during the course of this meeting to guide us, direct us as you would have the business go of this town. And we ask all these things in your holy name. Amen.
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 Ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased and honored tonight to have scouts from Boy Scout Troop 719 and 752. So if you guys would come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. I'm certain that somebody has organized your procession, maybe kind of, somewhat. Yeah, so guys, turn around so moms and dads can see your faces. Scoutmasters, it's not a scout mistress, right? It's a scout madam? Scout, totally masters now, okay. Very good.
Scout salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Glad you could be here with us. And Scoutmasters, thank you all for giving of your time and energies, and I know it takes a lot to lead a rowdy group of boys in this particular time in their lives, so we really appreciate all that you all do. Council members, we have a couple of additions to the agenda for this evening. Under 3, introductions, recognitions, and presentations, we're going to add a council presentation as item B. We've added under old business a presentation on budget revisions, and Pam will give that one to us. Under 12, new business, we are moving item G, interim manager appointment, down to the end of the agenda under 14, just after we come out of closed session, so we'll move that down there for the appropriate reasons. Very good. Folks, any other changes, additions anyone has? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda this evening.
Move for approval.
Is that Ms.
Where
Welch or
was the
Ms. Hunt?
budget thing moved to?
Ms. Welch.
My ears are clogged up because I've got
To your right.
incredible allergies, so everything is like my head is in a bucket. Ms. Welch makes the motion.
And I'll second.
Ms. Hunt makes the
Just- there you
second,
go.
saving me from the bell,
Yeah.
or from the, yeah.
Okay.
All righty, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that's unanimous. Hank, our consent agenda, please.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 6. This evening's consent agenda consists of 7 items. Resolution 2022-033, acceptance and approval of the monthly financials for 9 months ended March 31st, 2022. The approval of council closed session minutes from April 7th, 2022. Approval of agenda briefing minutes from April 7th, 2022. Approval of regular meeting minutes from April 14th, 2022. Approval of budget meeting minutes from April 18th, 2022. Resolution 2022-030, accepting the resignation of Paul Harp from the Environmental Conservation and Sustainability Committee. And finally, Resolution 2022-032, accepting the resignation of Scott Sewell from the Public Safety Advisory Committee.
Ladies and gentlemen, the consent agenda are items that traditionally or normally come before the council. We take them as a group unless any council member has a desire to pull one off for it to be considered separately. But if not, council members will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Ms. Hunt makes the motion.
Second.
Dr. Sadler makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Hey, you guys are going to have to step up. We're missing 2 of our council members tonight, so we don't have the full quorum of motions and seconders here. PJ, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hope everybody's doing good. If you look at the stats for April, we're at 586 calls for service, 297 security checks, 39 traffic arrests and violations, 22 alarms, and still about a 5.5 minute response time compared to our numbers last year at this time were 658. So we're down a little and a 337, 67, and 23 in about 5 minutes last year compared to this time. So it's getting warmer weather. People are getting out. So got to remember to be extra careful going through these neighborhoods. A lot of road construction with the power lines on Louisville Clemens Road. We get a lot of complaints about detours and the flaggers. So just be patient with these folks, and they have the good of everyone. They're just trying to do what they can. So I did want to take just a few minutes and talk to you about coming up National Police Week. Mayor, thank you again for attending the memorial service. It was an honor to have you there. National Police Week will take place starting on May 15th through the 21st. This is to recognize all those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice, all our brothers and sisters who stand up each day to protect all of us. In 1962, President John Kennedy signed this into law, making this week National Police Week. So there's currently 23,000 names that are etched in the Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C., and many of those are from here locally within North Carolina and even in our own town. So just to give you a little perspective of it, 619 names were going to be added this year. 472 officers killed in 2021, and 319 of those deaths were related to COVID. So those are the ultimate sacrifice, and those families are always affected. It's not just a week, but we just want to take this week to pay a special tribute to those men and women who did give up the ultimate sacrifice and left their families behind for the good of the public. And we're honored to have that. Nobody has any questions, I'm going to leave you for the evening.
Yes, Sergeant Stringer, thank you for always being here. Appreciate your thoroughness, and it's not just your arresting personality that bring.
Butter me up for something.
Yeah, there you go. But really, on a serious note, you know, there was that the program this week to honor those that were fallen, and I think our staff sent out an invitation. I wasn't careful enough to have seen that, and I would love to be a part of that anytime that it's appropriate. Would you also send, just so I definitely see it, send it to council as well, so we can be supportive when there's another event where we recognize our sheriffs, our police force. And
Absolutely. I'll make sure that gets distributed to council in the future, so.
Thank you.
If there's anything planned. So I did want to take a minute, and I know that Mr. Perkins is leaving us, and I did want to say that I appreciate you working with me, Hank, and it's been an honor to serve under you, and so I appreciate everything you've done for me, and you've made my job easy, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
If anybody doesn't have anything else, I'm going to let you get on to your meeting, and I'm going to go home and get ready for tomorrow.
Thank you, PJ.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Very good. Council members, if you'll indulge me, I want to make a brief presentation. Mr. Perkins, how about joining me up here? As most of you, or as many of you know, Hank will be leaving us on the 27th of this month, and he's taking a resort assignment up at Lake Lure. His attire up there is shorts and sandals and some type of abbreviated tank top shirt. But don't try to visualize that, please. Seriously, we've had a great time working together. We've done a lot of amazing things, this council and previous councils and yourself leading us. Just think about the last decade that you've been here. All of the things that we've done with our road projects, with our community center, with all of the growth that we've had, how we've managed that, how staff has done such a great job, and how you've built a great staff to work around you. All those things that while you may leave, all those things are going to be here after you go. So know that you'll always be welcome. I hope you'll stop by in between. Maybe, well, you don't stop here through Appalachian State games, but maybe we can get you to come down here anyway. I'd like to present something to you. With grateful appreciation for his service as town manager 2012 to 2022, the Louisville Town Council recognizes Hank Perkins for his leadership and many contributions to improve the lives of Louisville residents and their families. Presented today, May 12th, 2022.
You all. I'm not going to have very many words to say, but I am very proud to have been able to work with such great people, both on the council and the staff. 10 years it seems like a long time when you say it out loud, but the time has really flown for me, and it's not something that's been anything but a pleasure. And I will always look fondly on my time here with the town of Louisville. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hank.
Thank you.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at the first opportunity tonight for you to address the council during our public forum. If there's any issues, any concerns, or just some thoughts you want to share with the council, this is a wonderful time to do it. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to come forward and address the council on anything? Nobody to come up and recite the Scout pledge and oath? No, we're pretty good on that? Yeah, pretty good. Very good, thank you. Moving into old business, Ms. Foster, you have an update for us on our board and committee project.
Yes, sir, I do, and it is a joint brief presentation. Our planner, Ms. Talbert, will be also sharing this information. So, as council knows, we've been working on a board and committee project. We've got about 50 volunteers, folks in the audience, who provide a lot of service and support and advisory role to council. And so a couple of years ago, we took we took a pause just before COVID and said, let's find out what their needs are. And so we've done surveys, focus groups, gotten some feedback, and heard that they wanted certain things to enhance communication with council, communication with each other, some appreciation needs, which were really, really low level and basic on their part. They don't want much, but they just want to feel like they're providing a service to the town. So with that, we laid out a lot of plans. You all remember the calendar and discussions at retreat, et cetera. And so the good news is with all that planning, now a lot of the items that the boards and committees have asked for are starting to come to fruition. They're starting to actually manifest into activity. So what was it, a week ago Friday, we had the Appreciation Social. So I want to first of all just thank staff, Dora, for heading that up. For council members attending, we had about a 50% show rate from the boards and committees. Their families came. We held it at Mary Alice Warren Community Center. Terrible, scary tornado warning and watches going off, but luckily we had our head of our Public Safety Advisory Committee there, along with, I think, Darren Needham, Fire Chief, yeah, so all was good. But it was a delight, and so it's now something that the work group is going to be recommending to you all to do going forward. We'll look for some feedback on how we can do things better and tighter, but as a start, that's the idea, is to come up with an idea, give it a try, and then turn it over to staff. So with that, the next piece of all of this is we as a council have adopted the 5-year comprehensive plan. What was that, a couple of months ago, I guess? March, February, something like that. So with the comprehensive plan, I think my audio just went out there. With the comprehensive plan, there are a listing of all kinds of priority strategies that the consultant has set forth and council adopted. So the next step is to take that information and provide it to boards and committees, their leadership and the membership. So you'll remember the consultant, Jonathan, who put this all together on our document, which is online, by the way. Mine's all torn up, so I'll show you the title page, but it's a mess. I'm doing too much work with it. The bottom line is those board and committee members who were in attendance, several chairs and members, heard the consultant share that here's your document. Now it's time to implement and create some action plans. So the board and committee leadership will be meeting next Tuesday with Mayor and the work group. And at that time, we'll be having some orientation, which was another ask of the boards and committees, on how to be a chair, what's involved, what's happening with the town. Mayor will do some leadership orientation. But also as part of that is we're going to be laying out for them what some of the priorities from council's perspective is. And what we would like you all to do is to help us out. So you heard at briefing last week, we said we were going to come back to you with the list. So we've taken all 72 items that are listed in the report, and we've outlined it in this form that you all have in front of you. And Stacy, this is where we're going to dig into some details. So we've, yes, Melissa, color-coded it a little bit. Yes, it's this one here. It's called Louisville Tomorrow Comprehensive Action,
Thank you.
Comprehensive Plan Action Plan. And so we'd like you to, over the weekend, if you would please, prioritize what you consider the needs, critical tasks for the next fiscal year. So starting in July, what would you like to see your boards and committees focus their energy on? We're obviously going to get feedback from them on what they think, but we're going to put a coupling of those two perspectives together. So that said, Stacy, you want to go through how this document ties back to this so the council can kind of walk through and understand a little bit more about their documents?
Yes, thank you, Jean Marie. So the strategies and the objectives and everything that you see in front of you comes from Chapter 7. It's the last chapter in the comprehensive plan. When you look at Chapter 7, you will see there's a correlation between, like, Objective 1 will have strategies 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on for each framework plan. There are 7 total framework plans, including land use, housing, economic development, sustainability, the list goes on. So what this document is meant to do is help guide you through taking a look at those. What we have done is we have listed the objective, we have listed the strategy, and a short summary of what that strategy means. But if you'd like to go and get a little bit more in-depth, you can go through Chapter 6. That is where it spells out the framework plans and each strategy in depth. It's Chapter 6 of your comprehensive plan. So just on the first page, just a little cover sheet just to kind of give you a little bit of a legend to let you know what the acronyms mean, what the highlights mean, those sort of things. I know Jean Marie has asked if you'll go through this, take a look at it, give us your feedback. We will be transitioning this to the leadership. We'll then in turn go to the boards and committees, and then full circle back to town council for their plan of works to receive your blessing for them to move forward of what the town council wants them to work on, what they're going to be working on throughout the year. and we're hoping that it'll be like an annual cycle for them to go through year after year. But as Jean Marie said, you know, we're something a little bit new. So we're hoping that this essentially will help you go through and guide you a little bit on how to look back through the comprehensive plan to take a look at those strategies for the town.
Question, please?
Yeah.
Yes, Jean Marie or Stacy, when we list the priority, would you want us to list like 1, 2, 3, 4, or do you want us to list high, low, medium?
If you look on the first page, we're asking you to do 1, 2, or 3. 1 being a definite priority for the next fiscal year, 2 being a possible priority, maybe just kind of falls in the middle for you, and then 3 is not really a priority.
And you want these by when?
If you all could, so Stacy, you're going to drop these to them electronically tomorrow if there are no changes from council. Is that right? So then you'll get it tomorrow. We'd love to be able to receive it Sunday evening to take a look at some of the patterns and then be ready for the kickoff Tuesday.
So,
I would say don't feel like
Yeah.
necessarily every single strategy has to have a number beside of it. Obviously if it's just not really something that you're kind of feeling, you don't necessarily have to have a number beside everything, but we would like your feedback at
Okay.
least on a vast majority of the items.
can we
Hey,
just write this out?
Sure.
Like, I can just go 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mayor, did you want to say anything about the prioritization and the perspective that you were looking for from council?
Not really. I mean, I think you guys have laid it out pretty good. Part of what we've really focused on, I think, in this particular document, this particular effort, was to provide our boards and committees with a clear plan of work that has kind of been prioritized by council, so that we really get focused on carrying out the comprehensive plan. So this is our opportunity to rank these things. In a case of a tie, we'll settle it with an arm wrestling match.
And so by Sunday evening, you mean we email the answers back because it'll be emailed
Yes.
to us? We don't return this by
Yeah,
hand?
this was a just sort of walk through tonight and have you sort of see it, feel it, touch it, flip through it, but you're going to receive it electronically tomorrow afternoon from Stacy.
And
Got
if
it.
you would rather do it, I know, Melissa, if you'd rather do it by hand, feel free to drop it by
No.
town hall one day, something like that.
Stacy, that electronic format's going to be an Excel document?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be.
All right.
They can manipulate it.
Yes, so, excuse me, so once we rank order these things and come to some consensus about the prioritization, then the things that are number 1, obviously, are going to be the things they focus on in the coming year. Does that mean the things that are then number 2 fall to the following year, or we're gonna go back and re-rank?
Yeah, not necessarily. Again, like Stacy said, this is just a first out blush, and it's whatever the council wants to do. I think this is just our first start with digging into the document and deciding how you want to manage it and keep on and keep abreast.
All right.
Thank you, Stacy.
And this obviously doesn't preclude those many times during the year when we say, let's see what Parks and Rec thinks about this, or one of our boards and committees, and get their feedback. So in addition to this particular plan, there'll be those instances that come up that we ask for their specific direction and help on other things.
Mid-course corrections. Sorry. Mid-course corrections.
Course corrections.
Hey, Mayor, I have one thing that I just wanted a clarification on. So would it, or really just a statement, would it be possible when you take these back to boards and committees that if there's 5 things that are in a particular area, so 5 things for Parks and Rec, that they can then kind of have some discussion about what they think is important to them and what they see, and then get their point of view back to us, and then we just kind of say, yes, that works out great. Is that kind of how this goes? Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, Stacy pointed this out in some of our discussions. There are plenty of things that boards and committees work on that aren't in the comprehensive plan. The Willow Run Municipal Service District, they're not referenced in the comp plan per se, but they're going to have, a plan of work specific to their particular needs. So, more to come for you. Thank you.
Very good. Council members, any questions?
One more question, please.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just thinking of the scenario that Parks and Rec say has a priority, but the council really doesn't agree with that. They have another priority. So how do you work that out?
Well, you're gonna see that, and that's what's gonna happen first is there'll be some dialogue on Tuesday night with the chairs and mayor and the work group, and so some of that will get surfaced right then. And then they're going to go back to their boards and committees over the next couple of months, and their staff liaisons and minutes, so we'll be seeing what's being discussed and what's happening, so we'll know if there's some course corrections we need to make up front. But ultimately, or I should say at that time, there will be, the work product is come July 1st, the council will receive kind of a one-pager outlining what they're saying their recommendations are, to your point, Ms. Hunt. And then that will come to council, and then council will ultimately say, could we tweak this? Could we change that? What do you think? Council will ultimately make those determinations, but that would be the process that you can look forward to provide feedback formally at that time. Does that help?
Very much.
Okay.
Very good. Any more questions? Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Ms. Hunt, I'm going to pause from our regular agenda here because while our scouts are here, I think you have a shameless plug to make about our Student Leadership Committee.
I sure do. Thank you guys again for taking the time out of your evenings to be here. I know it's probably really exciting to sit out there and watch this. So I'll make it pretty brief. I wanted to let y'all know that we make civil matters and government, local government, we want to bring that to y'all's attention, and we're going to do that through our leadership program that we're going to be starting, our student leadership program this summer, and would love for you guys to take an opportunity to come out. It's going to be on August 16th, so you can throw that in your phones or whatever from 8:30 to 6. And so that is available to middle school and high school students, and it's going to be a fun day of looking at some things and learn a little bit about local government, some mock trials, well, not trials, oops. Sorry, I was going into Bo's section here. Some mock town council meetings, so we'll make it as fun and as engaging as y'all want it to be. Come out and see us, okay? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Orell, you have an update for us on budget.
Yeah, everybody should have a packet of papers at their place, and I also emailed this to you yesterday. But if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, I'm going to spend probably just about 5 minutes and just kind of run through the numbers. After the budget workshop this past Monday night, I went back to my office and summarized all the changes that you requested that we make to the proposed budget, and it's all accumulated on the very top page. There are 2 tables on the top on this page. The top table outlines the changes to the revenues, and the bottom table outlines the changes to the expenses. And let's start first by looking at the bottom table at the expenses. I've divided the expenses into two different categories. The first column gives you the expenses that are paid out of revenues. The second column gives you the expenses that are paid out of fund balance. And then you have the total of those 2 columns, total expenses. So in the first row, you see expenses per the budget as originally proposed by the town manager. So we started out with a proposed budget, total expenses of $6,864,766. And then following are the changes that you proposed this past Monday night. First of all, you requested that we reclass the funding for the paint sprayer. Rather than pay that out of revenues, you wanted to pay that out of fund balance. So that's just a reclass between revenue sources. It did not actually increase or decrease the overall budget. The second row, you requested that we remove the EV charging stations. The capital portion of that, of the EV stations, was $43,648. So we removed that from fund balance appropriated. And then there was an operating portion of $4,202. So that came out of revenues. So that decreased the proposed budget by $47,850. Then the third row, we added the contract with PTRC for the town manager executive search. So that increased budgeted expenses by $6,000, and that will come out of fund balance appropriated. The next row, we added another month of residential street sweeping that will happen in the spring. So that increased proposed, or increase the budget by $4,650, and that will be paid out of revenues. And then in the next row, we remove the contribution from the general fund to the municipal buildings and land capital reserve. So that reduced the budget by $170,000. And then next, we remove the contribution from the general fund to the GWR capital reserve. That was $115,000 out of the budget. And then lastly, you'll see up above that when we brought the tax rate back down to 17.7 cents, that obviously lowered the property tax revenue, and that meant there was also a lowering, the tax collection fees also came down. So that reduced expenses by $3,654. So after crunching all of those numbers, we're down to a total budget for expenses in the last column of $6,538,912. So any questions about the expense side of it? Okay, so how did we balance that up above with the revenues? You'll see that we started out with estimated revenues in the far right column of $6,864,766. And again, I divided the revenues into two columns. The first column are the operating revenues, the revenues we expect to receive in. And then the second column is where we will fund expenses out of fund balance or out of our savings. So in the next row, you see that we did increase our estimated rental revenue from the Mary Alice Warren Community Center by $30,000. Then I increased occupancy tax revenue by $10,000. I increased ABC board revenue by $22,084. And then when we reclassed the paint sprayer below, that increased fund balance appropriated by $4,169. And then whenever we brought the tax rate down from 20 cents to 17.7 cents, that decreased ad valorem estimated revenue by $354,459. Then when we removed the EV charging stations, that decreased the fund balance appropriated by $43,648. And then lastly, when we added the contract with PTRC for the town manager search, that did increase fund balance appropriated by $6,000. So you can see after crunching all the numbers with revenue, we have total estimated revenues of $6,538,912, which equal the expenses below. So we have a balanced budget right there.
Wonderful.
Question, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Pam, on the line where instead of raising taxes to 0.20 cents and keeping it at 17.7, I think you've got a decimal there. You have it at 0.177. Don't you want that to be 17.7?
That's correct. There's a dollar sign in front of it. The dollar sign .177.
Oh, okay, now I see it.
Yeah.
Dr. Sadler?
Just for the benefit of the scouts that are in the audience, when we do a budget in municipal government, and actually it's supposed to be that way on the state and the federal side as well, you'll see that the numbers have to match. So whatever the expenses are, the revenue has to match that. So the money coming in has to equal the money going out, so that you don't end up having to figure out how to pay for something. And so that's just FYI, since this is part of your civic class. That's the way this budget works.
And if you choose to be part of our Student Leadership Committee exciting adventure, you'll learn a whole lot more about the budget, because we'll have a section that talks about where the dollars come from, where we spend it, and a lot more. Very good. Any other questions? Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Council. That is a perfect lead-in, Hank, to setting our public hearing.
Yes, we have Resolution 2022-031. This is setting 2022-023. That's the 2022-2023. That's a year and not more like that. budget hearing. That's going to be set for next month on June 9th.
Very good. And folks, we'll go into a lot more explanation before and during and after our public hearing, so we'll probably have some questions, but we'll spend a little more time explaining the budget at that time. Council members, any questions for the manager?
No, and you probably mentioned it, Mayor, but the budget, any resident can access the budget online. So that if you want to go through it yourself to try to get a better understanding of it, you can do it that way as well.
Yeah.
But there will be an explanation, as the mayor said, as part of the public hearing process.
We also have a physical copy at Town Hall for those who aren't digitally inclined for that. They can stop by. It's on file at the town clerk's office.
Mayor, I have one more. So there have been people who have been paying attention and making comments on social media, which is helpful to know that the residents are engaged. Would you just speak to the manager's message and how that gets revised at the back end?
Yes, when I put forth the manager's proposed budget, it contained a message that kind of detailed all of the things that was informing the public and council that was being put forth in the budget as proposed that I and staff put back together. The council works with staff under a number of budget work meetings. We go over every part of the budget, and we make a lot of changes, sometimes more than others. And then at the end, we come up with a budget at the end of that discussion that has been modified to some extent by the discussions in the budget meetings. I then go back and do a modified budget message, and that reflects the changes between the budget as proposed at the beginning and then how it ended up being proposed and, I guess, presented at the budget hearing itself for the public.
Thank you.
Very good. With that, council members, we'll entertain a motion to set a public hearing on the budget.
Motion.
Ms. Hunt makes the motion, Ms. Walsh makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Hank, are you going to lead us through our social media policy?
Yes, this social media policy, this is Resolution 2022035. We had some discussion, of course, last week on Thursday at our work session. This is a social media policy is adopted by council, and it is really directed sort of for the benefit and the information of our council and our boards and committees. And it's laid out more in line with best practices and strong advice as to how people need to purport themselves on social media if they are involved with a town committee or a town board. So I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail on it, but that's what it's for, and that this is meant to be mainly a strong guidance document for these people that are on social media a lot of times, and it's very complicated, and we realize how people can engage on social media without necessarily an expert knowledge of what they should or should not be doing. This document is intended to kind of fill in those holes for them.
Council members, any questions for the manager?
Yeah, I have a question. There was some discussion during briefing about modifying that document to include some additional language. Did that get modified? I did not take a look at the packet. Well, I took a look at the packet, but somehow missed this part. I didn't.
Are you referring to some, I guess,
Language.
enforcement mechanism at the end?
Yes, that's,
Yeah, it did not make it.
okay.
Would you speak to constraints regarding First Amendment rights as relates to this document?
Well, this doesn't really do anything because it's not a thou shalt.
Okay.
It's recommendations for it.
All right.
So we don't want to get into the point where we're trying to feel like we are in danger of violating or trampling on people's First Amendment
Right.
rights for that. So it is meant for more an advisory document and strongly encourage. But it's a very tricky subject, so we've intentionally made it so hopefully this guidance that we put forth it was put together by the group with best practices, looking at a lot of jurisdictions, so it wasn't done in a bubble. We went ahead and looked at what other groups are doing of similar size, and that's, I hope, am I getting to your question then?
You are.
Okay.
No, it is not in its intent nor in its proposed application intended to restrain or constrain in any way anybody's First Amendment
That's correct.
rights.
It is important to recognize always, when you are elected to a town body or you're appointed to a board or committee, that you kind of step into a little different pair of shoes. And people look at you differently because you are a representative of the town. So while we propose social media guidelines, we can't absolutely say you must not say this or must not say that. But we want our folks to be cognizant of the fact that people look to them as leaders and look to them as people who represent the town in their capacities. So that's the kind of attitude and that's the kind of decorum we hope that they would carry forward in any kind of social media posting they have.
And this is applicable to, you said this at the beginning, not just the appointed boards and committee members, but also elected officials.
That's correct.
Very good. With that, entertain a motion to adopt it.
Well, I think Ms. Hunt mentioned that there was something discussed last time that didn't get incorporated. So,
I mean, I don't know if it's the will of the council to
Right.
continue to move forward without that piece. I believe it was brought up by some.
Dr. Sadler, I think it was, yeah.
I can't recall.
Regarding
Was-
adding the piece about removal from the board and committee of one of
Oh.
the, so I don't know if you still have an interest in that being a part of it, or if you're comfortable, Dr. Sadler, with it being
Well,
like it is.
I have to dust off my gray matter here a bit. I guess my interest in the policy as it was first considered and put forward was just to make sure that people understand that any comment they make within the context of their participation on a board and committee can be perceived as obligating the town in some way or another. The other problem that can occur, and I'm all for people, having their say about whatever they want to have their say about, but it cannot put the town in a difficult position as a result of that. And just so people understand that that's what the intent of this thing is that they not be, that they not intentionally or unintentionally do something that would put themselves at risk or put the town at risk as a result of those comments. And it could come to the point where we have to say, if you don't want to abide by these things, I mean, you have the right to say and do whatever you want in that regard, but you don't really have a right to create issues for the town by doing so. So that was my,
Okay.
that was my intent.
And I pulled my notes from briefing, if that would help, what I wrote down that Ken had asked for. You said, shouldn't these be requirements? And it says, town council said, let's add language saying, when there's an egregious violation, it will be rationale for removal. That was what my notes indicated.
You can,
You can amend the document right
you
now if you
can
want to.
approve it as amended with that statement.
Question of what is egregious?
Right.
And I mean, I think every board and committee member knows that they are appointed to and can be removed by the council. So I'm not sure, when we start talking about enforcement and how that works, I'm not sure how we completely verbalize that in a document.
And I think that was part of the intent that was what Dr. Sadler said as his concept, and I think that the intent was that folks were going to go back and take a look and maybe get the right language there.
Dr. Sadler, would you wish to postpone this while they develop the appropriate language?
Not really. I think that when you do your orientation for your boards and committee chairs, or when the committee members are oriented with regard to this particular issue, that you just say what you just said. They serve at the pleasure of the council. All of them know that. And that anything that creates a potential problem for the town could endanger their membership on the board or committee.
Yep.
Could, not will, but could. I don't know what egregious is either. I mean, we get back to Ms. Foster's earlier comment months ago about the Supreme Court decision that said, you know, I know it when I see it kind of thing. And I don't want to go down that path of I know it when I see it or I know it when I hear it. I would just rather folks understand, we will know, you know, as a result of the outcome of whatever the behavior is as to whether or not it has an adverse impact. And so I don't need the language changed. I just think that's a communication, a matter of communication between whoever's making that known to chairs or committee members. So I'm good with it the way it is.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-035.
Second.
Ms. Hunt makes a motion, Dr. Sadler makes a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Stacy?
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is Resolution 2022-037 to set a public hearing for a UDO text amendment. It is UDO L167, and what it pertains to is updates to the permitted uses table, particularly for planned residential developments. There are changes that the planning board is making to the Louisville rural overlay and setting the boundaries for that overlay district, and then just some cleanup that comes along with those two major changes. The planning board did hold their public hearing yesterday at their public hearing meeting and voted unanimously to recommend this to town council. So again, this resolution is just to set a public hearing for your June 9th regular meeting.
Very good. And Stacy, you'll have a much more detailed explanation for us then.
Yes, there'll be a presentation at briefing and also a full presentation at the public hearing for the public.
Council members?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Ms. Foster makes a motion, Ms. Welch makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Ms. Moore?
Yes, sir. Before the council is Resolution 2022-038. It is a policy establishing control access to town-owned, controlled, and leased property, and it would include controlling photography, videoing, or sound recordings within non-public forums. The resolution and policy before you designates certain areas of Town Hall, the Town Hall Annex, and the Mary Alice Warren Community Center where staff works as non-public forum areas.
Can you all pull that up on our screen here real
I
quick?
can.
Because there was just, I had one question about that non-public language.
And for those watching, yeah.
Great, it's right there. Let me see here. Very good. Non-public forum areas. The following areas of the town-owned, controlled, or leased buildings that utilizes, where is it we reference town council chambers?
Further down.
So, down under item 1 in Town Hall,
Yeah, kind of help me through that. The council chambers are non-public forum areas.
unless a public meeting is being held. So let's just say staff was having a meeting in here, or staff was in here working, it would be considered a non-public forum. However, your council meetings are considered a public forum.
Thank you.
It also allows for security of the facility,
Gotcha.
so people can't come and get things.
Thank you. Council members, any other questions? We'll entertain a motion, please.
Move for approval?
Second.
Ms. Welch makes the motion, Dr. Sadler makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That is unanimous. Ms. Moore? Meeting schedule, revised.
I believe you skipped amending Chapter 16.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Hank, bouncing back to you.
Okay. We have ordinance 2022-039 of the Louisville Town Council amending Chapter 16 of the Louisville Town Code for Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Development. You've got in your agenda packet the redlined version that had been put together by staff, and that incorporates what had been talked to date about the wishes of the council. We also were able to include provisions that we discussed at our last meeting, giving a sort of a 14-day period for people to pay for their reservations from the time that they receive the invoice. That was incorporated in this as well. And really laying out the recommendations that council has reviewed from the Parks and Recreation and Cultural Development Board, and then incorporating those after they have been approved by the town council. And again, this laid out a lot of the Chapter 16, the first part for our exempt users for the facilities, and nothing really changed that much for that, but we did break out for the Mary Alice Warren Community Center the language that we discussed, allowing for each of the groups to be able to have one room in the Mary Alice for free of use, and then, of course, if they wanted it, a second piece that would be at half price. This was between the days of Monday through Thursday, and that if they wanted it from Friday to Sunday, they could certainly use it, and that use, if they were on the list, would be at half price as well.
Council members, in our discussion on this, I think the question was raised, who qualifies as a nonprofit, or how do you get on the nonprofit list? We kind of reflected back and said, well, what is the mission of the community center? Now, this had come before us before, but it didn't come before us in an official manner. So I pass back out to you the suggested mission, and I do this primarily in context with approving these changes, but hopefully this will help guide us a little bit in whether a group, we have to do a little more detail on it, but whether a group, generally speaking, we would consider for a nonprofit status. And I'll read it out loud real quickly, and Hank, I don't recall us adopting this as the mission.
I don't either, but, I mean, we did also incorporate some language for these groups as well.
Okay.
And that is in here too. This would have been, for instance, for user fee exemptions, we added the words located and operating in the town of Louisville to kind of identify their location for the group.
Good.
And that was incorporated in both sections that you've got before you this evening.
Gotcha.
But you're correct. I don't think that we've had a mission that you've discussed as incorporated into either one of these things.
So council, we have really, I'm going to propose two things in front of us. One is to go ahead and approve the presentation the manager just made, and the second is to go ahead and officially approve the mission, and that way we have all those things on the books together. So any questions first off for Hank about the scheduling of the changes to chapter 16?
I have a question. Thank you, Hank. Thank you for putting all this together. I know we've been looking forward to this mission and vision part. One of the things when it came to, you added the located in and operating in the town of Louisville. So that kind of negates any percentages or anything. You'll just be able to determine if they're located, like if it's actually their mailing address. I mean, how will you know?
Well, we wanted it to be located and operating within it, and I think before we kicked around the idea of having a P.O. box, but you don't necessarily have to be located and operating in Louisville to have a P.O. box in Louisville. So the idea here was that you were going to be physically located in Louisville.
Okay, so organizations.
Operating in Louisville.
Okay, so organizations that are outside of Louisville, but they serve a large amount of residents in Louisville, that doesn't matter. They need to make sure that they're located inside. Is
That's
that right?
correct,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Let me give a situation. Shaliford Foundation, who has been exceptionally generous to us with a $25,000 series of grants to bring programming to the community center. They are not located within the town of Louisville, but yet we felt appropriate to extend to them nonprofit status to be able to use the community center. So in this new language, would this exclude them?
This would if they were coming before us this evening.
But they're grandfathered in.
Their grandfather did. Okay.
Yes, but you are correct that if we had someone in a similar circumstance, it would represent an obstacle to them.
So I am participating in Leadership Louisville Clemens, which is a great program. And one of the things as part of that leadership program, we're working with Hands On Northwest North Carolina to try to develop a directory of nonprofits in Louisville as well as in Clemens. One of the largest challenges that we're finding in that project is home-based nonprofits that are in Louisville that have the resident address in Louisville. So I could see that that could possibly be problematic if we're wanting all of the nonprofits to have a Louisville residential address, because that's what I'm hearing this particular item say. So, I mean, I think that I do understand that keeps us away from percentages and how many residents do you serve and that type of thing by including this language. However, I think it does take out a lot of valuable organizations that are in our local community that we may not be able to serve.
Okay.
So that's just my thought about that.
Well, let me reflect, as an appropriate time to reflect back to our mission statement. And I believe, Jane, I'm not sure if it was your suggestion to include neighboring in this wording, but I think it was. So the mission that we came up with, to nurture a sense of community. Let me put my glasses on. For those of you who haven't reached my age yet, this is what you eventually have to do to read the page. To nurture a sense of community belonging, we are providing facilities, programs, educational classes, activities, and events primarily designed to enhance the lives of Louisville and neighboring area residents and their family. So we kind of, through our mission, we kind of expand the opportunities, or at least it makes it a little more murky to me than just saying you have to have a Louisville address.
Yep. And Mayor, if I may, just to kind of give an example, Jane and I and David sit on the committee for grant approvals. And just one organization that we have had the opportunity to approve grants for was Senior Services. That particular organization, although they're not based in Louisville, they serve a fair amount of residents that we felt like it was important for us as a council to contribute money into. So that's just another example, I think, of, you know, if we end up going with this type of language, we're going to be, you know, not being able to serve some of the great nonprofits that we have in this area. So.
And that's a Meals on Wheels program. Also Reagan High School, you know, most of our high school students will be at Reagan, and we wouldn't want to exclude them for possible use. So I think there'd be a lot of exceptions. What does our manager recommend?
Well, I think these are all good points, and I would hate to kind of piece this together this evening. So I think we could come back and talk about it some more on that one. There is a section of this thing that I would think that ask if we could adopt specific sections of the proposed changes, if that would be okay with council, knowing that we're not adopting all the changes. Ms. Moore, what would you say about recommending that we adopt sections 1618 in the Mary Alice Warren Community Center for sections E?
Would you, Dora, could you pull it up on our screen, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Guys, this is how we make sausage.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty, but when it comes out, it's pretty good.
Maybe better would have been, instead of adopting, saying we adopt changes except for the sections that kind of define who is a exempt user.
Mayor, I do not have
Pretty clean.
that particular one
That
on
would be
this
clean,
computer.
If we do just what he just said.
I think the manager had a good recommendation that we go ahead and adopt this with the exception of that one section.
Right.
Yes, section 1618 only deals with the Mary Alice Warren Community Center, and it does not address who can qualify as an exempt user. That's addressed all in the section
Good point.
1614.
Okay.
So we could move forward with 1618 and not affect any of the conversation that we had regarding who is an exempt user.
And if I recall, we were going to be briefed about Mary Alice Warren more fully at the June briefing, right? Good night, guys. So that would make sense to have some more discussion then with this.
That's fine.
Oh, Mayor, I'm sorry to stop the scouts, but I did want to say something to them real quickly before they left.
Yep. Just when you thought
Just when you thought
you
you
thought you were
free.
gone.
Yes, sorry to jet out. Gonna let the scouts do their homework and get back to their home life, but we appreciated being here. Thank you for the invite to the Student Leadership Program.
Absolutely.
We're all working on citizenship in the community, and this was invaluable to us tonight, and we definitely have some active scouts, and they're all very bright, young Louisville residents. So
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. I didn't know how long you were going to stay. I know it's exciting material. It's hard to leave. But what I did want to say to you, we are looking to you and our youth for future leadership.
Yes.
And as dry as some of this can be, it's, I'm trying to remember who said this, but all politics are local. These type of decisions, they influence who picks up your garbage, your streets when they're plowed, for snow. All of your local services come from your local government. And honestly, it is very rewarding. And it's a great way to serve your community. So, don't get too caught up in how dry some of it can be, but it's worth it. It's worth the time that you take. And we are very excited about the number of you in this troop, and we welcome you back. Call any of us anytime for a question and say, when does it get interesting? And we'll love to have a hand in your thoughts of community leadership. But thank you for coming tonight.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Welch.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, leaders.
Yeah.
Good night.
So Hank, let's
Yeah,
recap.
I guess it would be easy to say that you could approve everything except what was located in 1614E as far as the changes. And then everything else it doesn't have anything to do with that.
All right, everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion, please.
Move approval.
Second.
Dr. Sadler makes a motion, Ms. Foster makes the second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
So when is our intent of resolving that issue?
I think we've got to do that probably for our briefing.
We do.
Yep.
So you'll have that on our
I've made
to-do
a
list.
note, yes, sir. Did you want to go ahead and approve your mission as well for the Mary Alice
Just getting ready
Forum?
to ask council what their pleasure is on that. Council, what's your pleasure on that?
I move approval of the mission statement as presented, recognizing that it may be modified from time to time.
Yeah. Second. Oh, no, go ahead.
Third.
Jane.
Second, third. Dr. Sadler makes the motion, Ms. Foster makes the second, Ms. Welch makes the third. Any further discussion?
I have a comment, just a reminder for staff. Since we've now approved this, and although it will be modified, any publications or print material, that type of thing, just making sure that residents really see that this is our mission for this community center. I know I had the opportunity to visit Swansboro. They have a community center in Swansboro, and they have it on a plaque right as you're walking in the door. So once we do get this tightened up over time, when we get to a place, that may be a good gesture for our community center.
Perfect. I think it's appropriate to post it now.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. You're just full of good ideas tonight. Okay, Ms. Moore, we are now truly down to you.
Yes, sir. Council, before you is a revised 2022 meeting schedule. It is reflecting, the only change to it is reflecting that the Beautification Committee will not have meetings in June, July, nor August.
Thank you. Do we need to approve the
Yes.
revised schedule?
If you don't mind,
Okay.
please.
May we have a motion, please?
Oh.
Ms. Welch makes the motion, Ms. Hunt was on the tip of her tongue, makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All righty, down to administrative reports.
Okay. Back up here. All right, for upcoming events at Shalford Square and Town Holidays, We will be closed for Memorial Day on the 30th. Moving forward for events at the square. On the 13th, we're going to have, well, that was the night rain date. We're going to get, I guess we're going to have that because of the other being postponed, right?
It's postponed.
All right.
Tomorrow's the rain date.
And then moving forward on the 30th, when town offices are closed, we will also have a Memorial Day concert at the square with the Embers. Moving forward into June, on the 4th, we're going to have another concert. This is a Heart tribute band. It's they have themselves as the ultimate tribute band to Heart. If everyone understands who Heart is, it should be a great and awesome concert.
You inserted the word breaker there. Is that from personal experience?
Heartbreaker?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me. All right. And then lastly, I'll save the July for a later month there. But on the 25th, I'll put a plug in. This is Saturday. We are going to be so happy to be able to host our street party and food truck festival. And this is going to be the Band of Oz. We lost this over the last year or two for the pandemic. So I think everyone is going to be very excited to see this return. All right. And then moving forward a little bit, manager's report. I'm going to go ahead and say that I was very pleased, and this was reported last week at our briefing, that our planner, Ms. Tolbert, was able to get the Part F application submitted on time. So we are on course for hearing a decision from the state of North Carolina's Part F on our grant application. That should come sometime in the fall, probably September, October, in that range. And then that's all I have.
Ms. Moore, a couple of reminders for us.
Yes, sir. The remainder of your budget meeting dates, the final review of the budget ordinance will be at your agenda briefing on June 2nd. Your budget public hearing, as you just approved the resolution, will be on June 9th at 7 o'clock. Also, as Ms. Hunt shared earlier, the summer leadership session for our middle and high school students will be on Tuesday, August the 16th. It is a day-long session. We have worked on the press release and a brochure that I will be sending to Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools to get their approval on, and sent so that we can hopefully get that sent out to the students prior to the end of year. We will also look at some of the other area schools, and I have made a note to be sure to send the information to our Boy Scout leaders and Girl Scout leaders.
Very good, thank you. Hank, how about giving us a update on what we dealt with at briefing?
Okay, for our meeting last week, we approved Ordinance 2022022. This was a budget amendment for the payment of the town manager vacation payout. We approved Ordinance 2022023, budget amendment for town manager executive search. And then Resolution 2022036. This was to contract with Piedmont Triad Regional Council for the town manager executive search. And finally, we approved Resolution 2022034. This was for the street acceptance for Pecan Manor Lane.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that follow the council, you know that we have our first Thursday of every month as our briefing section, at which time council members get briefings on all the items that are going to be on our agenda. We occasionally will take action on some items, and when we do, we like to report them out at this meeting so that they're part of our official minutes. So, council, I think it maybe is appropriate right now if we were just we're going to go into closed session here in just a little bit, but maybe if we just take a short break and we have some cake that we can slice up and looks like some white water as opposed to wine. And let's just take a moment and celebrate our manager's tenure with us, and then we'll come back and do the appropriate motions to go into closed session.
You want to, you have a public comment period, you want to knock that?
I guess we can. I was going to wait till the very end, but because you never know, we are going to take action coming out of our closed session.
And council comments, will that be after the close?
Yes, ma'am. If that's council's pleasure, we can move anything around as you wish. If everybody's good with it, let's just throw the jib and keep moving forward. For those of you, that was a nautical reference. All right, so we're going to take a little break here, folks. Stay with us. You can watch us eat cake, and but we'll be back here shortly. And those in the audience, you're certainly welcome to join us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you. Once again, that was nice that we could take a moment and celebrate our manager's time with Louisville, and thank you for indulging us for that brief opportunity. We will be going into closed session here to consider a couple of items. When we come out of closed session, we do anticipate taking an action. So for those of you who would like to stay with us, we'll be, I'm not sure exactly how long we'll be, but we'll be having discussions, but we do anticipate taking an action when we come out. So stay tuned. If you're watching on TV6, those in the audience, if you want to get out your cots, please feel free to do that. And otherwise, Bo, will you take us into closed session, please?
The motion by one of you would be pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-31811A3 and A6. A3, for the purposes of consulting with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. And under A6, to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee.
Very good. Council members, maybe we have a motion, please.
I'll move what the attorney just said.
Very good.
Second.
Dr. Sadler makes a motion. Ms. Foster makes a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Folks, we're going to be going into closed session. We'll be back shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are still with us or who will be edited in with us when we edit this tape for rebroadcast, we have returned from closed session. The one item left on our agenda to discuss this evening, and the item that I said that we would have some action on once we returned, is the appointment of interim manager for the town of Louisville. If you've been watching, you've obviously recognized that our town manager will be leaving on May 27th, 5:01, not 4:49. But part of our obligation as a town and part of our obligation by North Carolina statutes is that upon his departure, we must have a interim town manager to be able to undertake the designated responsibilities as defined by the legislature. So, with that, I would like to make a motion that we extend the interim manager opportunity to Stacy Tolbert, and we do that with additional compensation of $2,384 a month. This would be in addition, she'll be wearing two hats. She'll be wearing her planner's hat, but she'll also be wearing the interim manager's hat. So this would be in addition to her duties as planner. We would hope that this duration will be very short, maybe a couple of 3, 4, 5 months, and we'll take it month by month. And I think that that comes after not only the recommendation of the manager, but also extensive deliberation by the council in our closed session. So with that, council members, I go ahead and restate that motion that we appoint Stacy Tolbert as our town manager with an additional supplemental pay. This is not in addition to her salary, but this is a supplemental pay, which makes it a little different because it's not subject to COLA or merit pay, at $2,384 a month. That's the motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Hunt makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Congratulations, Stacy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Would you like to say a word
Yes.
as our interim manager?
I will. I first off I have had conversations with the mayor, and I want to extend this to the entire council. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for putting your trust in me and your confidence in me to lead the town, to continue to work with the great staff that we have, and I hope I do you justice. Thank you very much.
Very good. Since there are no public present for the public forum, we will pass on that. However, if you're watching at home and you wish to submit comments, you can do that at townclerk@louisvillenc.net. Townclerk@louisvillenc.net. Submit those soon so they can be incorporated as part of this meeting. Council members, comments?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to clear up and actually clean up a little bit of the discussion that we have had on the community center, the hours that it is open. One thing I wanted to suggest that we post on the doors the hours of operation. So when the public comes, they can say, oh, they're not open now, but they'll be open Saturday. And speaking of Saturday, I think that's an important day because that's when people are off work and they'll say to the family, you know, we haven't had a chance, let's go see the new community center. Or let's just go in there and enjoy it. So I just found that I haven't felt that we completed the expectations of when it is open and how we relay that to the public.
Thoughts, folks?
I think the expectation as far as how we're running it is from 8 to 5 when somebody's there Monday through Friday, and when somebody has the building, somebody's in the building, then it is open. But then Saturday, what we end up doing is people who have rental codes on it have access to the building for their events. But otherwise, we don't have anybody that is going to cover the building on Saturday and Sunday.
Is Howell not full-time?
What's that, ma'am?
Is Howell not full-time?
Hal is a
too?
full-time employee Monday through Friday.
So why can't it be open 8 to 5 or whatever his
It
hours?
is Monday through Friday.
It is open.
That's what we're planning to do, but you had mentioned the Saturday and Sunday, and we're not prepared to be able to cover the staffing on it for the weekend.
Okay, I wasn't clear that it was open Monday through
Yeah,
Friday.
I want to clear that up. I heard you say when
Well,
someone is
What we heard the other
there.
day, and I think what Brian heard is during the day, when somebody's in the building, the door needs to be unlocked.
But when someone is in the building, that's what I'm hearing, the disconnect.
If both of them happen to be away from the building, they would
Right.
lock the building at that point. But when I'd say 99% of the time during the week, they'll have it where there'll be at least one person. They'll probably cover it with their lunches that way. That's
Okay,
just-
so
yeah.
it's rare that there wouldn't be somebody there. Could
Right, I
we-
think that you probably would have an opportunity at some point if one of them was off for the day, and then the other one had to go run an errand, come up to town hall, or do whatever. But otherwise, I think it's explicit that if it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and somebody's in the building, the door's going to be open.
And what do you think about, posting that on the door, here are the hours? And then in the event that somebody isn't there, there could be a little sign that you could just
Yeah,
put
we
on
could work something like that.
to do that. The other concern I had was, I know this happened with Krispy Kreme. They used to have a group of gentlemen that would come like every day. And it became the problem that the same people were using those seats. Now I think they moved towards McDonald's. There's a little more seating there. But what do we do in the event we start having a group that comes and takes up that lobby seating every day for a certain time? Should we not have some type of limitation on, please be considerate, and this is open to
Yeah.
our town? How do you address that?
I think probably we would address it if we recognize there's a problem.
And not have a sign on the table or anything that says, please be considerate and enjoy the town in this area for approximately an hour and a half, or,
I don't know that would be necessary until you had somebody that was basically camping out as you explained it.
So my thought on that would be if that is a potential concern, that we ward off some of those interactions by just posting a sign just around, go ahead and, if that is a concern that Councilwoman Welch brought up, possibly just posting a sign so we don't have to wait for somebody to sit there for 4 hours and then we have to go up and tell them, hey, you can't sit here, and then it's a big old, well, you didn't say I couldn't sit here, and that type of thing. So, I'm not for saying that that's going to happen, but that does happen. I know the YMCA, has become problematic at Jerry Long, and so, and you see it at McDonald's. Councilwoman Welch.
Sort of like time-limited parking, except for people?
No,
Is that-
it doesn't have to be, I don't think
Is
this
that
has
what
to
we're
be,
talking
I don't
about?
think it has to be a big deal, just courtesy sign. The library has them. Please be quiet, or please only occupy the table for 2 hours, as there may be other people. I don't think it has to be this thought-out process necessarily, but just something that Brian may want to be aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could become problematic.
Yeah, I don't know that it would be a problem, but I think that if it became something that they recognized was an issue, they would certainly
Right.
address it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to prevent that.
Prevent
Right.
Be
it.
all
That's what I
about
hear
the
them say.
wording, of course, of, how you get that across without offending people.
Yeah, I mean, years ago, we were here and we got very cognizant of the appearance that the town used to have at the square of being about no signs. No dogs, no this, no that, no that. And it became a little overwhelming, for it. So we kind of backed off on that one. So I think it's appropriate if we recognize there's a problem to address it at that point. But I think it would be fine to pick it up when somebody's created a problem.
Sure.
Yeah.
We covered?
Covered.
Very good. Councilmember, any other comments this evening?
I do have a comment.
Yes, sir.
And I've said this to Hank privately, but I want to say this publicly. I've been around since the beginning and seen all the managers and worked with most of them since Kent Mathewson, who was our first manager, who was, I think, known as the Dean of Town Managers in North Carolina at the time. And then the first was John Whitson, who was with us for such a long period of time, and all those in between. And I said to Hank, I thought he was among the best managers that we've had in the town, and I just wanted to say that publicly as well. I was impressed with dedication, his abilities, and skill set, and so forth. So, town will miss you, but I'm sure we'll see you from time to time.
Yep.
To second that, but absolutely, Hank, you certainly will be missed, and thank you for your dedication to Louisville.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Perkins, this is our last meeting. I'm sure I'll see you around Town Hall for the next couple of weeks, but obviously, as I think certainly council members recognize the job that you've done, and as mayor, we have a lot of engagement on a regular basis. I'm going to miss that. I think I've relied on your counsel, and hopefully you've relied a little bit on mine, and we've shared a lot of interesting times, and I'm going to miss having you around. So, thank you. As they say, Godspeed, and please stop in when you're ever in town.
Certainly. Thank you all.
Bring your dog.
I appreciate it. Yeah, bring your dog.
Very good, council members.
Very
If there are no other
nice.
comments,
Thank you.
we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Ms. Foster makes the motion. Ms. Walsh makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Don't forget your sheets by Sunday evening.
Thank you.
All righty. We're adjourned. Thank you, folks, for tuning in tonight. Hopefully, we'll see you again next month.